Welcome back, everyone, to the channel, to the 32-Bit Coffee Show. I'm here with my buddy Moitroid, and I'm MB Kortright, and today we're going to dive a little bit into cognitive flow and level design. So we're sort of going to dive a little bit more into... I don't like that intro, sorry. Let me restart
No,
it.
I really like that intro. We're going to go with it. We're going to go more into the cognitive flow. We don't want to scare you all what cognitive flow is. It's just basically the flow of the player's mind as they play a game from beginning to the end. You know?
Yeah. But before we jump in, how are you?
Pretty good. Just another day, another coffee. Drinking cold coffee today. Iced coffee, actually. I blended some ice because it's freaking hot and I don't want to put the AC this early in the morning.
I have some hot coffee. I usually don't get very hot, even with these crazy temperatures that we're having.
Lucky you.
It's not that bad. Yeah. So, okay, I think we should just jump right in. And so I did my research on this topic, but I couldn't really find any formal definition for cognitive flows. So I sort of Frankensteined one together. And I just wanted to read it to you, and then we could just, I guess, tell me what you think. So this is what I got from all the research I did. So what is a cognitive flow? So to me, cognitive flow is the term used to describe a flow achieved when a desirable balance of engagement, challenge, player control, and immersion is designed into the game such that the experience of the game is smooth and on point.
What does that even mean?
Oh, I turned on my camera.
Turn on your camera right now. Yeah, so there's that needs to be broken down because...
Yeah, let's break it down.
Yeah, so I guess where can we start?
I think we should start with... So cognitive flow is all about creating balance, right? It's all about creating a balance such that the player experience goes smoothly. Basically, that's the high level view I see.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the elements for that balance?
So for that balance, it's like a balance between the challenge, how challenging the game is at a certain moment in the game, and how skillful that player is in that moment. So it's a function of challenge with respect to skill. And
okay.
So, and let me put it quite like obvious for all players. In the beginning of the game, you have this tutorial, and at the end of the game, you have the boss fight. It's not the other way around, because in the beginning you have very low skill, and then the tutorial is supposed to be not challenging at all. It's supposed to teach you how to play. So I'm not saying a tutorial level is the easiest thing to do in terms of like developing a game or even playing a game, but everything between the beginning of the game and the end of the game needs to have a nice little flow of trying to create more challenge and also trying to evolve the player's skill throughout the entire game.
Yeah, and I think, we didn't mention at the beginning, but we're gonna be applying these concepts to Breath of the Wild, which is a
game
really
well played.
Yeah, and I think what you just mentioned is super true in terms of the way that game progresses. Like, if you remember at the beginning, you basically come out of that cave without any gear or anything. It's just you, and slowly it starts building up, right? You keep collecting spirit orbs and you keep beating the bosses, and what I liked about that game is every time you went to a new level or a new boss area, basically, you needed a new mechanic to survive. So for example, when you went to the Gorgon, the fire guy, you needed that fire resistant equipment in order to pass that boss level. So it sort of builds a little bit, and by the end of the game, when you're gonna face Ganon, you have so many tools available to you, and obviously that boss is more difficult. because you have more experience and more tools at your disposal, and you know how to use them. And I think Nintendo does a really good job at ramping it up slowly so that the player doesn't feel like they're getting left behind, but at the same time they don't feel like it's so easy, that they're basically in that balance function that you mentioned, right? They're not falling into anxiety because they can't beat this game, and they're not bored because it's too easy. And that's sort of part of the design.
I really like how Nintendo, especially in Zelda Breath of the Wild, the flow in that entire game is really controlled by the player themselves, because they have so many options. They could go any direction, go to any shrine, or they could just go directly to Ganon, in the center of the castle, the entire map of Hyrule. They are presented with options. If they feel like they are skilled enough, then they don't need to go do the shrines or go defeat the divine beasts. They could just go straight to Ganon or go to one of the divine beasts, depending on how skillful they are. I've seen some players beat Ganon with a mop and no sword and no shield, just 3 hearts. Of course, they probably beat the first game fully, the full way around, just to enjoy the game. But for anybody that's playing Zelda the first time, they want to explore everything. They want to try out all the options they have. They want to get all the abilities, all the weapons, all the shields. They want to experience all the mechanics, all the ways to traverse the space within the game. And I think that the flow is controlled by the player in that way, and I think that's what makes it a great game.
Yeah, so that's also one of the elements I mentioned in my definition, right? Player control is essential for a cognitive flow, right? Like, if I'm playing a game and I feel I have no control over what I want to do next, or maybe I'm stuck and I'm just not able to pass this because I don't understand what to do or anything, I'm gonna feel frustrated. But with Breath of the Wild, when I played that thing, the whole way I felt like the world was just there, and I had complete agency, and that obviously helped me with the flow of my gameplay or my game, because I never felt stuck. I never felt frustrated. And
yeah, that's
so awesome.
That's a good point right there. The reason why, and I felt the exact same experience as you. Even though there was so much left to do in the game, Nintendo gives you quests and shrine quests, main quests. You always know what you could do, but you always have the option to kind of go on your own way, because you kind of want to get better at something. You want to try something new. You just want to see what's on top of that mountain and see the view from the top of that mountain, so that way you could know where to go next. Or maybe you just want to go defeat some enemies, lots of enemies, or go to Lino, one of those Sagittarius type of enemies.
Those are hard.
Sometimes you just want to go do that and not do any of the main quests. It's really up to you, and throughout the whole process, subconsciously, you're not even knowing that Nintendo.
Yeah.
Well, keep going.
I think what you just mentioned ties into the other point I mentioned in my definition of cognitive flow, which is immersion, right? Mm-hmm. When you have this type of freedom and you have this type of control, it's much easier to get immersed in the game, in my opinion. And it's not like it's so there's obviously there's a balance, right? You don't want to be put in there and then just have that world with nothing in it, because sure, you have complete freedom, but if the world is boring, it's not gonna do anything for you. The thing with Breath of the Wild is they sort of throw you in there, and there's something at every corner, which makes you want to explore it, and that's part of the immersion.
Yeah, part of the immersion is the world itself, and the fact that also Link doesn't speak very much. You know, you are Link's mind. You are in that game representing Link. You have full control of Link, and you're in that world immersed, just doing whatever you want, any option you want. You could explore wherever you want. You could swim, you could climb, you could walk, you could shield surf, you could ride horses. There's in this sandbox, there's no limitation. That's what sets the bar for this game compared to other games in terms of open worlds.
Yeah, and let's see. Did I miss any other part of the definition? I don't think so. I think that's basically it. So to review, I have balance of engagement, challenge, player control, and immersion. So I think we went through all of those because we're, like we said, we're always engaged in this world. There's always a challenge, whether it's master mode after you beat it the first time or the DLC after you beat it. So there's always, I feel like that game can be viewed in so many different ways that it's always, you can always find the challenge, which is part of the genius behind the design of that game.
And you're never bored in that game.
Yeah, you're never bored. And then player control and immersion, like we just discussed. So I wanted to take a look at this concept a little bit deeper in this game.
A little bit.
So I was thinking, where do we see all of these things play out in a genius fashion? And I think the perfect example are the shrines and the whole mechanic behind the shrines, from what the shrines represent from the beginning of the game and what they contribute to the end game and the whole process in between. And so I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the shrines yourself, like what you think. So go ahead, and then I'll give you my take.
Well, shrines could be talked about in different contexts, from cognitive flow to level design to just puzzle design as well. It's like 3 different areas, but in terms of cognitive flow, there are, especially in the beginning of the game, there are the shrines are pretty easy, trying to teach you how to play the game. But as you progress throughout the whole game, the shrines get a little bit trickier. The battles in there are a little bit more challenging, and the puzzles you have to think a little bit harder and trial and error throughout the whole, because they want you to become an expert at the game, become an expert of the mechanics. And it builds up through there, and as you explore the entire map, the way I remember it, because everybody does the shrines in different orders, I remember the shrines getting really hard mid-game because I still didn't know how to do combat very well, in my opinion. So I had to return a couple times to those combat. The trial of, I forgot what those shrines were. The ones a test of strength trial.
Oh
yeah, those were a little bit tough. Yeah, but eventually I got the hang of it. I'm not the best. I'm not the best at that kind of stuff, but yeah, I'm better at solving puzzles.
So I think the reason I think the shrines are so important in the context of cognitive flow for this game is because they serve a lot of different purposes. So like you said at the beginning, they serve as your quote unquote tutorial on how to use your tools, right? So freezing time, the magnet, the bombs. So they sort of serve as a place to teach you how to use those mechanics. During the game or throughout the game, they serve as beacons for exploration, and they also serve as a way to strengthen your character, right? Which feeds into the end game, because the more shrines you discover and you solve, the stronger your character will be for facing Ganon. So the more orbs you collect, the stronger your character will be. So out of those 3,
and that's all optional. Just to remind everybody, that's all optional.
Yeah, that's all optional. It really depends on the player, right? So that's part of the genius as well. But you know what I wanted to sort of focus on was sort of that mid-game stretch, just so that we can look at cognitive flow a little bit closer. So my experience with the shrines is, I'm walking around, and this could either happen in one of two ways. Suddenly you start hearing the radar going off, that little radar that tells you that the shrine is
Nearby.
or maybe you see a shrine in the distance. And so to me, that's where the journey begins in terms of trying to reach that shrine. And part of cognitive flow is to, as a game designer, from what I understood as I studied this, is to create an experience where a player can be focused on something without getting heavily distracted by other things. So let's say you see a shrine at the distance, at the peak of a mountain, and you want to get there. Breath of the Wild is designed in such a way that the things along the way might be distractions, but they're sort of soft distractions. So if you see like an encampment of bad guys, you can easily avoid it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can easily get around these things. And I think that's part of player agency, right? If I wanted to attack these bad guys, I could just do that. But if I want to focus on the shrine, the game is designed in such a way that it enables me to keep that focus.
And it keeps the player in the flow.
Yeah.
Like, it's not too challenging,
immersion,
not too boring.
right?
You're just it's just fun. You're keeping the fun level up.
And so part of reaching the shrine, that whole process of being able to avoid distractions if you want to avoid them, being able to explore the world while you still keep that focus of getting to that shrine because of what that shrine means within the world. That whole process sort of, to me, spells out genius game design.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the cognitive flow there is incredible. And then once you get to the shrine that you go inside the shrine, it's totally different. Like from start to finish, when you were mentioning at the beginning of the game, the puzzles were easier, right? And then they get harder as you progress in the game. But the cool thing is that Nintendo manages to do this, not by introducing mid-game or late-game mechanics, rather by utilizing the tools that you earn at the beginning and enabling the player to explore how to solve these harder puzzles just using those tools. And I think that also contributes to the immersion and the player engagement.
Yeah, and the player also getting better at each time, just mastering the mechanics. And
go ahead.
Oh yeah. So all this kind of like goes into a little bit more like on dynamics, options, and agency, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
But it also kind of like, I kind of want to talk about a little bit more about level design now. Yeah, I think a little bit about level design in Breath of the Wild is like the one thing. There's two types of players that are playing Breath of the Wild that I thought of. One is, of course, the completionist, and the other one is a casual player. And then there's players between those two things. A player that is more passionate but doesn't want to be a completionist. But there's two categories: casual and completionist. And the completionist, of course, goes around getting all those Korok seeds, but the reward for those Korok seeds are just a gold piece of poop, those are for completionists. But like for more casual players, they don't want to go around doing things like that. They want to go, whenever you're solving a puzzle, whenever you get a reward, you kind of want to feel like it's a new reward, new experience. For example, getting the hook shot in Ocarina of Time, that was a huge reward. Like that didn't come out in this game, but when you get a reward in a shrine or something, it's going to be a sword, or if it's in mid game, it's going to be a sword or bow and arrow or whatever it is. But you kind of want to give your players something to work for as well. And one of the things that I like is in level design is traversing space. When you learn to shield surf in that game, it's not in the beginning of the game. It's more like not even the middle. It could be in the middle of the game or late game or early game, depending if you go to the snowy mountains. They teach you how to shield surf in the snowy mountains for two reasons, and the first one is obvious because it's in the snow. But the second reason is because you already explored part of the map already, because you got there already, and Nintendo encourages exploration by teaching you how to shield surf right there, so that way you could re-explore whatever you already explored and shield surf in those areas as well. See where you could, because people love shield surfing. Yeah. Another thing about level design is what Nintendo's so good at doing in this game is encouraging exploration, like I said before, and elevation in the game. Mountains, valleys, ocean, rivers. You see a lot of hills and mountains, and what that does into the player's mind subconsciously is make them wonder, like, whoa, like I cannot see what is there, what's right there. I need to go there and explore it because it's so beautiful, it's mysterious, and I might see something new, experience something new, or I could get a better view of the entire map if I climb that mountain. And elevation in that game is basically what Nintendo did is making the place beautiful, giving elevation to certain places, because that makes our mind more curious on what's going to be there.
Yeah, and one mechanic that they included that I think really ties nicely into that concept of exploration is the memories. Like when I was searching for the memories, trying to recover the memories, I spent so much time just walking around, trying to find the exact location where that picture was taken, and that sort of enabled me to discover new places and to just explore. So I think that was genius on their part as well, sort of including
it forced you to be immersed.
That mechanic to sort of explore this world that they've created. So everything, what I've learned from that game is that every little thing in that game has a purpose. And if you dig into it, you can find that purpose. So it's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I like that they immerse us in there, especially with memories. And memories part is a lot more for the casual and semi-completionist player. For the completionist player, there's also they brought in a Pokemon Snap feature where you could just take pictures of enemies and animals and wildlife and weapons as well. Like, you kind of have to go take pictures of everything if you want to complete the game. You know, you have to take a picture of an eagle. It's like kind of like Pokemon Snap, filling up your Pokedex or photo album of things. That is another layer of like making the player like want to explore the entire world.
Yeah, I mean, that game is just amazing. I can't wait to see what they do for the sequel. I'm really just hoping more of the same, but in a different story. Like the gameplay itself is so good. I just want more.
And in terms of level design, I think they're going to bring a bit more things, especially swimming underwater. That's traversing like more space in that. And probably more NPCs to help you out or give you hints on how to explore more worlds, or maybe even a dark world, kind of like in A Link Between Worlds and stuff. So I think that talking about NPCs, I think NPCs, especially Kilton from Skull, what is it called? That dark shop that you see in certain locations is called Fang and Bone. Fang and Bone by Kilton's a shop owner of that, and he tells you where he's going to be at and at what time, and we all know it's going to be at night, and but you kind of have to go wherever you go. You kind of have to go looking for him. He's always nearby a town or certain towns, not all towns. He's Terrytown. Yeah, you could find him there. Yeah, and you could find him in Hateno village, and Kakariko Kakara. I can never say the name, even though I played in Ocarina of Time. But
Kakarot.
you could find them in different towns. You can't find them in like the mountains. Spoiler alert, because it's too hot right there. But that's like another him just providing you the dark clothing for Dark Link.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Makes you want to work for it. Makes you want to grind a little bit more for it. Because you need some, because he has like a currency, so you have to build up on that currency to buy those things. I kind of wish they had more. He had more options to sell you. Yeah, more items, more masks, because I love the masks in that game.
Yeah,
but
that's such a cool little. It's like a little extra thing, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think we're gonna be doing more videos like this one, right?
Yeah.
Where we dive into more concepts, and I think we should keep doing it in Breath of the Wild because that's such a large game and there's a lot to explore and unpack.
Yeah, I think Breath of the Wild, although there are many games out there, that's just one game me and you have like in common.
Yeah.
So we could definitely go deep down on that, especially because I put 350 hours on it and I have not Googled a single thing. I'm like at 93% completion on that game. I'm a completionist for that game and I'm still not done with it.
I'm not a completionist.
You're a casual player.
I'm a casual player. I'm a casual player that gets addicted easily.
Mm-hmm.
But I will never do. I won't be a completionist. Like once I finish every little bit of story, like main quest, side quest, etc. The collectibles to me, I don't know. I guess I'm more story-driven player. You already know that. So if I finish the story and I feel satisfied with the conclusion, etc., then I'll move on, and maybe in the future I'll replay it, but I'll start it all over again. Like I won't try to finish. I'll restart the game. So I've done that, for example, with games like The Witcher 3.
Mm-hmm.
I finished the whole thing, and instead of being a completionist, I just restarted it.
Okay.
At a harder difficulty.
More narrative driven.
Yeah, I like that. I love those stories.
Great. Well, I guess that is all for today, everybody.
Yeah.
I think we went deep down on cognitive flow and level design.
I think we have a few announcements, right? We're going to start uploading on Sundays. I think that's the schedule.
We're going to try to be more consistent now to satisfy the YouTube algorithm.
That pesky YouTube algorithm.
For those of you that liked our podcast, feel free to subscribe. You don't have to, though, but only if you really liked it and you found some value or entertainment in it.
Especially if you're a completionist, subscribe and watch all our videos.
You could also find us in our little social links right here. I'm on Twitch if you want to see me working on my video game. I'm working on my video game Monday through Thursday for 1 hour at night. So
what hour? 8 to 9?
8 to 9. I want to switch schedules, but right now it's kind of like right there because I kind of want to work on the game consistently. So I'm doing it 4 days a week for 1 hour, just the art side, so you guys can see me draw some pixel art for my
game. And he's really good.
No, I'm not. I'm still but a learner. So that's it for
we have our, like we said, our Instagram, Twitter, our YouTube channel, Moitroid's Twitch, and we also have our sort of collective social media linked in the description below. So subscribe, like the video, share it, watch it, leave your comment below just so that we know if you guys want more videos like this one, or if you would like to us to make other types of videos, and then let's just have fun, right? Let's go on this journey together, like we said from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And if there's something we left out in this cognitive flow or level design talk, feel free to add it.
Go for it.
And we'll have a discussion about it. I'm willing to learn more because there's a lot we left out because this game is huge.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe we do a follow-up if we have enough content.
Sounds good, everybody. Nice talking to you, MB
Nice
Kortright.
talking to you. Yeah, Moitroid.
I'm gonna pause the video right now.